So would you say that college plays no part in developing the whole human being?
Well, it does play a role in developing us. It's unclear whether this is unambiguously a good thing, and I think socialization is actually sort of an ambiguous thing. There's this very odd phenomenon in Silicon Valley where some of the most, a lot of the talented businesses, great businesses, seem to be run by people who have suffered from some mild form of Asperger's, and you sort of have this question why that is, and I always think this fact should be turned around into a critique of our society, which is, what is it about our society that takes people who don't have Asperger's and where you get socialized into thinking that your original ideas, your creative ideas are bad, they're weird, you shouldn't pursue them, you get subtly discouraged. And I think that's a lot of what socialization does. They've done these very interesting studies at Harvard Business School, where, which I guess sort of, you can think of the makeup of Harvard Business School as people who are whatever the anti-Asperger's extreme is. They're people who are super social, super extroverted, generally don't have any convictions of any sort, but you basically, hopefully I'm not offending too many people here, but you put these people in a hothouse environment for 2 years, and at the end of 2 years, it's been found systematically that they all end up deciding, or the largest cohort of them ends up deciding to sort of try to catch the last wave that just passed you by, to use a surfing metaphor here in Southern California. And so you don't want to, you're never going to catch that wave. So in '89, they all wanted to work for Michael Milken a year or two before he went to jail. Never interested in tech or Silicon Valley except '99, 2000, when they timed the end of the dot-com bubble perfectly. And then 2005 to '07, it was all real estate, private equity type stuff. And so, I think socialization's very ambiguous. It's the word ape already in the time of Shakespeare meant both primate and to imitate. And there is something very powerfully imitative in human nature. It's how we learn things. It's how we learn language as kids. It's how culture is transmitted. But it also leads to bubbles, it leads to herd-like thinking, sheep-like thinking, lemming-like thinking, and there are things about this that are quite problematic.
One of the questions I always come back to in this is, what is the teleology of these programs? Where do they go? And what I think has gone, and one of the analogies I've come up with is, I think elite undergraduate education is like junior high school football. It's
junior high school football. I did not see that coming.
It's playing football in junior high school is probably not damaging for you, but it's not going anywhere.
I see.
Because if you keep playing football in high school and college, and then professionally, that's just bad. And the better you are, the more successful you are, the less well it works. And then the question is, what's the motivational structure? When I was an undergraduate in the 1980s, there was still a part of it where you thought the professors were cool. It might be something you'd like to be at some point in the future, and they were role models, just like in junior high school football. An NFL player, would have been a role model.
But now it just looks like brain damage in both sets.
And now we think you're just doing lots of brain damage, and it's a track that doesn't work, and therefore the teleology sort of is broken down. So undergraduate, part of the teleology was that it was preparing you for graduate school, and that part doesn't work, and that's what's gotten deranged. And then graduate school, well, it's preparing you to be a postdoc, and then, that's the postdoc apocalypse, or whatever you want to call it, postdocalypse.
Postdocalypse? You heard it here, folks. Postdocalypse.
And so, but just at every step, I think the teleology of the system is in really bad shape. It's of course, this is true of all these institutions with fake growth that are sociopathic or pathological, but the universities, it's striking as very bad. And I think this was already true in important ways, back in the 80s, early 90s, when I was going through the system.
Okay.
And when I think back on it, I think I was most intensely motivated academically in high school because the teleology was really clear. You were trying to get into a good college. And then by the time I was at Stanford, it was a little bit less clear. By the time I was at law school, really unclear where that was going. And And by the time I was 25, I was far less motivated than at age 18. So and I think these dynamics are just more extreme than ever today.
I've never said that there's a one-size-fits-all approach. People have mischaracterized my view is that everyone should drop out of college, everyone should start a company. I don't think everybody should be starting companies. Just given this power law thing, I think a lot of companies don't work. We need more people to start good companies. But I think also the sort of super tract dynamics have gotten us to a very bad place where education has become a substitute for thinking about the future. And the K through 12 system is geared towards college, and the problem is life doesn't end in college. Hopefully you live for a long time after that and do many things after college, and there's a strange way where we live in a society where there's a lot of anxiety about the future, and we've put more and more money into education for the last 35 years as a way of dealing with this anxiety, where if you get into the right college, you'll be saved. If you don't, you're in trouble. And I've sort of described the college, the sort of dramatic version I've said is, colleges, they're as corrupt as the Catholic Church was 500 years ago. They're sort of charging people more and more. It's the system of indulgences. You have this priestly or professorial class that doesn't do very much work. And then you basically tell people that if you get a diploma, you're saved. Otherwise you go to hell. You go to Yale or you go to jail. That's sort of and what I think we need to push back on this idea that the only way you get saved is Catholic Church 500 years ago or today, the only way to get saved is by getting a diploma from college. And I hope that in the future there will be many different kinds of productive things for people to do. My goal with the Thiel Fellowship was not to start a new church, a startup church or something like that. It's not to have this alternate one-size-fits-all thing, but I think the future system will be one that's much more heterogeneous and where there will be many more ways for people to be successful.